issues related to the consolidation of the special schools. For example, that the Special Education Center is going to be relocated to Baton Rouge. That Medicaid dollars that are used to service some of our most fragile students who are not only educated but also housed at the Special Education Center are going to be used for other services. You will hear that the special school district is going to try to consolidate with the Thrive School. All of these things are false. There is no intention to relocate the Special Education Center, which has been doing good and important work for years. There is no intention to use Medicaid dollars dedicated to those kids for any other service for any other children. And there is no intention to merge any special school with any other school. Those three schools will continue. Second, there has been concern that the mantra 100% of kids in, 100% of kids out has meant that there is a desire to place some of our most fragile students who have IEPs, who have multiple disabilities, who occasionally are in fragile conditions, outside of appropriate health care facilities. That is false. There is no desire to force, to mandate, to require a standard graduation at a standard graduate age for students in the Special Education Center, and never will be under my leadership. Third, whatever you think of Dr. Cooper, his qualifications should not be in debate because they are a fact. He has a doctorate in Special Education Administration. He has worked in the Department of Education in its Division of Special Education. He has a history of servicing emotionally disabled youngsters in correctional settings, in juvenile justice settings. And he worked for the state at the founding of the special school district. He played a role in the founding of the special school district. So he has a long history in special education. Unfortunately, there are parents here today, and there are parents here, will be here tomorrow. They've asked for permission for the state to transport their children, at least 3 families here tomorrow. They've asked for their state to have permission to go to the zoo and to do other things while in Baton Rouge tomorrow. And I have said to the SSD, you will provide that. So they will be here tomorrow as well. I'm looking forward to seeing them. But I consider the fact that we have to transport fragile children. The parents have to take time out of their busy lives to come here today. A deeply regrettable situation. Because the letters that I am receiving indicate fear. Fear of change, fear of facts, fear of truths, fear of who can you trust. And that's a problem. It means all of us have not done our job. And on behalf of the state, on behalf of the department and the SSD, I apologize to any parent in this room who has come for feeling like the service that is paid to their child is going to be changed in ways that are hurtful to their child or is going to be taken away from them. They have been given an obligation that is the highest obligation, which is to be the parent of a child with special needs. And in no way should anyone, especially the government, ever threaten their children or their children's services. And I apologize to them if that implication was ever made by anyone. However, I have to repeat, I believe the reason that that implication has come to be is that there has been a patent lack of professionalism because lines have been crossed. There have been largely personnel issues that either have not been handled appropriately or that have been addressed by those who need not to address personnel issues. Let me tell you what I think the mistakes have been. First, as I expressed to Dr. Cooper this morning, I believe there have been incidents that have been handled by the SSD that would have been much better handled in a methodical manner where all parties were brought into the discussion before there was a decision made and a communication undertaken. That was a mistake. It was a mistake on the part of the SSD, and it was a mistake for which I take responsibility. Second, it was a mistake for SSD staff to communicate directly with board members, especially board members as a group. I pride myself on having a staff that you've gotten to know very well, very competent staff. It was an incredible mistake for Dr. Cooper or board members on his behalf to send a letter to all board members. It's unprofessional. It's not the way we pride ourselves on doing our business, and it will never happen again. Third, there have been rumors, there have been debates, that have been had on email and on Facebook. And I don't care what century we're in. We're still a governmental body, and you are still a regulatory board. And these matters are to be discussed in public meetings, not on social media. And whoever puts untruths out on social media should be viewed, or truths out on social media, they should be viewed as that, social media posts, not regulation, not reporting, and not fact. And we should question them before we begin to take them overly seriously. I'm hopeful that my comments will try to reinstate a sense of order and a sense of professionalism. But I need to demonstrate that professionalism myself within our own organization. And so we are doing the following things here today. First, yesterday, my department, in partnership with the Louisiana Department of Health, sent a letter to faculty and parents at the Special Education Center, initiating a due diligence process by the Louisiana Department of Health, who will research the viability of the Department of Health playing a greater role at the Special Education Center, perhaps even taking governance, rather than the special school district, over the Department of Health. I believe that some of these issues are borne by the fact that this is largely a facility that provides medical services and health-related services, not strictly educational services. And I believe the Department of Health has expertise in areas that could be greater represented in that facility, as they are in the facilities that, many of which are, for example, in Dr. Jones's district, Pinecrest and others. Second, the state police have indicated to me that the investigation that was given to them is concluded. They have passed the results of that investigation to the local district attorney as an investigation. That means the district attorney is receiving it as a serious matter. In some circumstances, it means it may proceed to a grand jury. In some circumstances, it may proceed to be nothing. But the appropriate approach is being followed, and my department will not rush to conclusions on anything. Therefore, staff who have been placed on administrative paid leave will remain there until this process is concluded. I recognize that as an enormous imposition on them and their families, but it is also the appropriate thing to do under the law and under the way that these things are evaluated. And the minute that something comes back to me indicating that there is no fault and everything was done perfectly well, they will be reinstated immediately. Third, Dr. Cooper was an interim appointment. He did not go through the search process that Ms. Edmonston spent so much time with me on last year. An interim appointment under the law ends at the conclusion of this legislative session, as will his term. That session ends June 8th. Fourth, we are commencing hiring an executive search firm that will be hired under a contract under my authority because it'll be under $49,999. I believe that contract will be entered into within the week, and you can sign off on it at the April board meeting. We've been unsuccessful in locating a long-term superintendent for this district. We need help. We were unsuccessful with the gentleman from Kansas. We've been unsuccessful within our own state. Anyone here, Ms. Flynn, Dr. Cooper, are free to apply, but I will not be running the process. An executive search firm will be running the process. We need assistance. I hope that these steps are within protocol. I hope that my department has served as a model of acting within protocol. These are protocols that exist so that we do not get overheated, so that we abide by the facts, so that we abide by the rules, and we do things in a standard way. Whatever you think of my politics, whatever you think of my views, my agency has done things that way for 8 years, and we are not about to stop. And I'm asking you the same. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Superintendent. I do want to remind everyone that, especially under this particular item, that there is a certain authority that the superintendent has and a certain authority that Bessie has. And I say that because I'm looking at these public comment cards, and these public comment cards indicate that people are supporting or opposing certain recommendations. We're not here to consider any recommendations. This is a public comment period where people are going to be able to give some public testimony. Before I move to that session, I will see if any of the board members have any questions or comments for the superintendent. Dr. Jones.
And I want to say for the record that I never participated in any social media. I didn't respond to emails and so forth that I thought were inappropriate. And and I try to withhold judgment. That is in my district, and I was very early on brought into the discussion. In fact, David, all this stuff came on, and I tried to watch the process very carefully and go forth. But you know, I guess I have two things that kind of concern me. Number one, strategic goals are not normally made by an interim. That's something that someone, you don't make strategic goals for someone else to inherit. So that's just my comment based on my military background and strategic goals and tactical decisions, which are two separate things. But you know, one other thing in my military background was the definition of leadership. Leadership, as defined in the military, is the process of influencing others to accomplish the mission by providing purpose, direction, and motivation. And if any of those elements are missing, then you don't have effective leadership. And I don't want to have a public discussion of all this. In fact, I almost wish that people have the right to come to the table, but a lot of this is personnel related, probably not appropriate for public discussion. But I will say this, the 4 people that have had the 4 most recent who have had their careers impacted are also at a disadvantage in this, because people make assumptions based on things as if they've done something wrong without knowing the facts on it. So I would urge a couple things happen. Number one, that there not be any penalty for anyone who has spoken up or whatever, because I understand part of the theory. I've gotten probably 20 emails from folks that are employees of the department that don't want revealed, and so I won't reveal the things that they say are there. I have no idea what any of this stuff's at. But what I do understand is that it is not in the best interest of the special school district to operate in a realm of confusion and chaos and fear. I applaud you, Superintendent. One of the things I was going to do today, I was going to ask you to give me, at the next meeting, to give us an update on what your timeline and process for putting a permanent person in that position. And if Dr. Cooper applies and that's who gets chosen, I have no problem with that, because then he would be in an appropriate position to make strategic goals. But I will tell you, and then I'm gonna shut up on this, because I've lived this intimately for the last month, to the point of almost nothing else in my life, but dealing with phone calls and public officials, legislators, and everything else dealing with. When you have a situation where someone comes in new to an organization and suddenly wants to change everything, that's something we teach second lieutenants not to do. You don't go into an organization without knowing full well where you're going and what you're doing, and you let people get used to you before you turn the fruit basket totally upside down. Now, I went to one of the meetings there, and I listened to the presentation that night, and it made pretty good sense to me at the time. But there was already a current bubbling under this. What I want to see happen, and after this comment, I'll say nothing else. What I want to see happen is a fair process where the reputation of the people involved is protected, and where the special school district gets qualified, competent leadership. And then we pay attention to what those people who are the clients want to see come out of that. And if all that's done, I'll have no other comment on it. But I want to be sure that the employees involved are protected, because there are some allegations that they're being fired, their cell phones are being taken from them, and so forth. And I just don't think that's the way we need to operate.
Ms. Edmiston?
May I make one comment in response?
Yes, sir.
Just want to be clear about this. To the degree that you are hearing testimony from the 4 individuals, I have no knowledge as to what has happened on the ground.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. When they came in today, I saw them, I went down and advised them not to speak. Because there's a Supreme Court decision that says no matter whether it's on that interest or not, if they're a public employee, they could actually lose their job just because they do speak, if you chose to do that. So I'll just tell you about how I told them, the Ceballos case makes it very, very problematic for an employee to speak out and And so I advise them, I think they'll tell you, and I advise them, sit still and be quiet.
Fair enough. And if it helps, I will say this. I am going to abide by what the district attorney of Rapid Parish recommends. If there is something that was not done appropriately, fine, we'll deal with it. If there wasn't, then these are lifelong educators who have done good work in this school and elsewhere, deserve to be reinstated, and that's my commitment. It's my commitment, that said, as the manager of that organization, and I would recommend that to the degree possible, we not indulge personnel discussions in this context, beyond that.
And I certainly agree with that.
Thank you both. Ms. Edmiston?
Superintendent, I'm a little confused about the term interim. And it seems like I remember when we discussed someone to take over the special school district, we knew that it was in dire straits in a lot of ways. I'm not saying that it wasn't good in other ways, but so in that discussion, and I don't know, Shaya, you know, if you can help me, but you're just gonna have to clear up for me what an interim does and is, as opposed to, I guess, what I thought that we were charging that person to do.
I mean, I don't think there's a legal definition as to whether or not an interim should implement the strategic plan. But I do recall very vividly that when the plan was presented, that it was the guidance of Bessie and me to go forth with the plan because the children could not wait. And that's why I read the set of things that have happened. Ryan got appointed as a deaf ASL fluent principal. We actually created an operating agreement with OJJ. We submitted a school improvement plan under the federal government. Had Dr. Cooper simply been a placeholder with instructions to just turn the lights on and off every day, those things never would have happened. And I believe it was the clear guidance of Bessie that he was to actually go forward executing not his plan, but Bessie's plan. I don't believe he was given a choice on that. He was told to go do it. So we may have some disagreement. However, that's not to say everything's been done appropriately. I believe that there are personnel issues that could have been handled better, could have been communicated better. At the same time, we're trying to right the ship with some of the steps we're taking today, and I believe that is a better way of dealing with personnel issues than debating them on Facebook or in a public meeting.
Does any other board members have questions for the superintendent before I go to public comment? So these individuals do not wish to speak. It says that they oppose the recommendation. Condi Latino, Paula Rodriguez, and Jay Eash. These individuals wish to speak. Derry Smith, an LSEC student. Ashley Bieber, an LSEC, I'm not quite sure. Ashley Bieber, Monica Holder, Cadbury Smith. If the following people could come to the front row, please. Catherine Hart, Darren Delry, Tamara Wolf, and Karen Harris. You'll be up next. And following them, Stephanie Worley and Sean Clinton. So do we have Derry Smith, Ashley Bieber, Monica Holder, and Cadbury Smith?